probably the biggest challenge we have is to understand what is behind the high turnover rate and that employee experience that they have that make them think, well, that's enough. I don't want to work here anymore.
At a certain moment in my career, I was told not to care about people too much by people above me. Being a general manager of a hotel, I, in the past, very much compared it to being a Superman.
Studies show that 53% of graduates either did not enter or are not working in hospitality after graduation. So we are doing something wrong in that transition.
My part of onboarding experience in my life was immediately shaped by the very first one. Because my very first job, I was really young, was opening up one hotel in Disneyland Paris. And in Disneyland Paris, the onboarding starts without even setting one foot in the hotel, 2 weeks of Disney University. You go to a classroom, there's a teacher, and for 2 weeks, they are teaching you everything. When you know what to do, you're calm.
What's up, hospitality? Welcome back to another episode of the Schuler Hub Talking Hospitality podcast. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by our advisory and hotel expert, Nah-Dja Tien. We are going to dive into the past, present, and future of hotel onboarding and explore how our stay framework can really make a difference. We will look into one big challenge that the hoteliers face, 2 key solutions for these challenges that can implement, and 3 actionable steps to boost staff retention that they can take after listening to our podcast already. So stick around. This is going to be a very good conversation. Nah-Dja, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Mauricio. I'm very happy to be back. Thank you.
I love having you here. We've had so many of these interactions here, but it's been a while since the last time we spoke. So it's awesome to see your face here. And I hope that our audience can really grasp into your experience and your leadership, because you are one of the most inspiring hoteliers that I've spoken with. And I spoke to quite a few. So I'm very glad to have you here to talk about something that I'm really passionate about, is staff onboarding and training.
Cool.
Yeah, I will start with some numbers just to get our audience warmed up to the situation we are, because hospitality is naturally a high turnover industry because of the nature of it. Not everyone that joins hospitality join because they are looking for a career. Sometimes they are in between jobs. Sometimes they are students. So it's naturally that we have a higher turnover than most industries. And according to the American Hotel and Lodging Institute, that turnover rate is about 23%. So about 23% of employees will leave the industry regardless of the experience that they have. Great pay, great structure, great culture, great company. It doesn't matter. 23% of the employees will still leave hospitality. However, if they don't have the onboarding and training that they are expecting to have, this number jumps for 42%. So it doubles the turnover rate, meaning that it doubles the hiring cost as well in the organization. So this is why it's so important that training, onboarding, structure is applied to all our hotels. Now, let's dive into the past of the hotel hiring, onboarding. You've been this journey for more than 20 years. You opened Disneyland, you opened Radisson. So you had an amazing career. And can you talk about when you were being on board in your first jobs? How was that experience? Was it formal? Was it consistent? Was it inconsistent? What did you go through?
Well, I think that my My part of onboarding experience in my life was immediately shaped by the very first one. Because my very first job, I was really young, was opening up one hotel in Disneyland Paris. And in Disneyland Paris, the onboarding starts without even setting one foot in the hotel, 2 weeks of Disney University. You go to a classroom, there's a teacher, and for 2 weeks, they are teaching you everything, everything. And not only about your job, but also about the culture, the company. In my case, and that's why it's very unique. And I am happy that I fought for doing this in my life. They even went so far to say, okay, people know Donald Duck, in English, Goofy and the three nephews. But how do you call them in French? Because we were opening up Disneyland in France. So when a French person comes to you and says, I don't even remember the names anymore now, but the names are different. So even those things we learned. So you learn about the culture, you learn about everything. And this was at the same time the most extreme onboarding that I have ever had, because Disney does not allow for any mistakes. So you do your exams, you go to the university, then you go into the hotel, you get a book like this with all the standards and everything else, and you do your on-the-job performance. And one of the things, I know it's an opening, and again, it's very extreme, but how to cut a lemon to put into a Coca-Cola or into something. I think we cut up 10 kilos of lemons just to make sure that the thickness of the lemon is exactly right. And the manager then, so this is extreme. But of course, I took this with me and said, this is great, because when you know what to do, you're calm. You are facing your guests, you're facing problems, you're calm because you know what to do. So it's maybe not really fair that my journey is so extreme, but it was an amazing first onboarding. And another thought that I have about this is that big difference between chain hotels or more bigger hotels that have dedicated HR departments and dedicated learning and development managers. Those onboardings are also on a completely different level than a boutique hotel that does not have the luxury of having dedicated people to do the training. So yeah, it was an interesting start of my career.
That's such an amazing thing. I also believe that's extreme, right? When you get to too many details on really how you have to behave in every single word that you say, is one of the problems in hospitality today. That like a robot, right? We don't want robots, we want authenticity. But having that experience of going through such training gives you tools that's something that works, and I would love to have it again, to see it again. And yeah, that part of the robot part, I can scrape it off, let Disney be Disney, and I can put my own soul into my own hotels. When it comes to after Disney, you didn't become a general manager straight away, so you probably got onboarded into different types of experiences.
Correct.
Disney, most extreme, most structured experience. Worst experience, Nah-Dja.
Worst experience. Well, in a way, I can still not say that I am a normal person, because Disney was an opening and I've just been doing opening after opening after opening. So an actual onboarding to go into an existing company, I've had very little experience with. I think, those hotels where I did join, they did not have any structured way of onboarding. What is always structured is the typical HR part. Yeah, you need to sign a contract. There is rules, regulations. You need to sign all of that. So those things legally are ticked off. But then you go into the operations and it's just, okay, go, and somebody will show you and teach you. And the tribal communication between people starts flowing. Whether that's correct or not, this is for a manager after 6 months to figure out, okay, why are you doing it like that? Because somebody told me, okay, but you should not do it like that. And then you get challenges.
Right. So there's basically besides Disney, you always been put into shadowing someone that was on the job and learning from your colleagues.
Yes. I never had a possibility to actually learn already something before I went into a department or somewhere else, which only actually my first experience was that when I joined a huge American company outside of hospitality introducing software. There, the whole onboarding was pre-thought about, and you go through a system and you do your exams and you basically onboard yourself like that.
Yeah, and this is what the thing that I've been speaking to people around me, and you've been in some of these conversations, that the problem is not that the hospitality is just used to do this shadowing style of onboarding, and it's fine. But the people that are joining hospitality, they probably worked someone else or heard from their friends how onboarding works in different industries, and they are expecting some type of introduction to what they're gonna get, to a little bit of a course, a little bit of structure, and not giving what they expect is where frustration starts to happen, right? So like, well, why they are not doing what everyone else is doing, because it works for everyone else. So why they wouldn't do it? And then we start the challenge of leadership. Like maybe the leader is not smart enough. So they don't think about the industry, but they start to challenge the leadership. And maybe this manager doesn't understand what they're doing. And there, I think that is where trust starts to be broken. And we're going to get some data on where this trust goes very, very soon. But then, Nah-Dja, you went through opening hotels after hotels after hotels and actually building and opening great properties, right? We've spoken here before, but you open 11 hotels,
Yeah.
11 hotels, three of them number one on TripAdvisor, right? So you have not only opened many hotels, but you opened hotels that were very, very successful. And I don't know anyone in the industry that has a track record like yours. So if anyone is very curious about Nah-Dja, you can go to our past podcast. You can go to the Hospitality Daily, where you had an amazing interview there as well, speaking about your journey. But when we speak, you always say about your hiring style that was very special. So can you tell us a little bit about the hiring and what did you do there that it was different than the others?
Yeah, you mentioned a little bit earlier, you mentioned about you don't want, in a way, in hospitality, people that are robots. Yeah. You come in and, hello, good morning. My name is Nah-Dja. I am your waiter for today, blah, blah. Those kind of things, it's not me at all. So when I started to open up my own hotels, I hired by culture. I hired by empathy and culture, both. The tasks of what needs to be done were to a certain extent written, communicated. I would have loved to have a system in the past, which I currently am working with, called Notion, but I didn't have it then. Yeah, so I did have files and folders and pieces of paper and systems like that. But the culture and the empathy was for me the most important. I did not care what people do. If you have a nice person and you have a first interview with a nice person, that person will be nice to a client as well, yeah, or a guest. Yeah, the way how to do a check-in, of course, you need to learn that. But then to smile to a guest and to be nice to them and do a little bit of chit chat, that is what actually makes, hospitality exciting. Not the real knowledge that, oh, I now need to do this and I become a robot. So it is not an easy task. But I think that we discussed this in the past before. One of the reasons why those hotels were doing well is that, yes, they were organized, people knew what to do, but also people could be themselves. Yeah, it was on a completely different level in that sense. So
And did you know what you were looking for specifically? What type of competences? What type of skills? What did you weight more? Because you just said like about empathy, about being a great person, but how does it translate when it comes to skills, specific skills or specific competences of that? Because being a great person is quite a great area, right? Like you can be a great person to me and someone else thinks that you are not, right? So what you looking for? Did you have that written down somewhere, or it was just the way that you work there that you feel?
no, I mean, first step, you put an advertisement or somewhere that you are looking for for people to join you in your team. Since I did openings, this was the biggest part of what I did. I got very early on, when I opened up my very first hotel as a general manager, where I could basically do what I wanted. I got very much interested of hiring people that never worked in hotels before. Yeah, so it's a different my way. I prefer to teach people how I think a hotel should be run with my ideas than to unlearn certain, experiences from other people, other hotels, that are not on my level. So on one side, it is no experience, which I then gave. It is my experience that I wanted to give. And at the second time, I think that part of me, which I did a Gallup test for, which is my empathy part. You kind of feel, the nice people, and the I always mentioned in the past that I wanted to fall in love with the person that I need to work 10 hours a day with, or 8 hours a day. And this is not romantic love, but if you have a good chemistry between two people, it is so much easier to work together. And then you build trust, because it's not something that is a given fact that I am the boss, so please trust me. But when you build the trust both ways, and there is this empathy part, and there is the knowledge part, then suddenly, apparently, in those hotels that I opened up, it really works, because the guests, they reviewed it as top.
It's so interesting that you say about not hiring hospitality people because you don't want them to have the bad habits that they probably brought from other experiences from school or elsewhere, right? So you can get them fresh and turn the Nah-Dja way.
I have to interrupt you. I think that school is the basis. I think that if I was in a restaurant once, which is not a hotel, but the restaurant was opened up by students. When you walked in, it was tattoos everywhere, piercings, hair like that, ripped jeans. It was, from the first point of view, like, whoa, what is this? But these guys, they decided to every single rule in the hotel school book, they do in that restaurant. So from when you sit down, how you're being served nicely from the right side, left side, that was the only place in my whole life when a tablecloth needs to be cleaned. You should not see the table, hotel school, way. So they very nicely put the new tablecloth in one movement, put the new one, take the old one off. Nobody saw the table, other people. So very old fashioned in a way, hotel school book. It was magical. And this is what for me is very important. So I don't agree that hotel school has bad habits. I think it is the best habits. I think that later on, these habits are being washed away. The hotels or restaurants, they don't really care, because training, no matter how you twist or turn it, to set up a system, to do train, it is also an investment. And it's some people don't see the value of the investment. So, which I think we should change big time.
I brought some numbers about that, right? Because it's really, really interesting. Today, well, people have changed. The people that are in hospitality now are very different from you when you were very young. And we had a very interesting conversation with Shannon McKellen from Resort World Las Vegas about mentorship. And she oversees an operation of 1,800 people, right? So a massive team. And she mentions that the biggest challenge that they have is the generational transition, right? It's the first time in history that we have 4 generations working at the same time, sharing the same space. So very different mindsets, very different way of thinking. As people are changing, we need to understand these changes so we can apply to them, because we need to have people to work in hospitality. When it comes to schools, about 33% of hospitality graduates explicitly stated that they will not work in hospitality after their graduation, post-graduation. And this is the lower number I found. I wanted to bring the lower number I found. That was the newer stats from 2016. Another study showed that 53% of graduates either did not enter or are not working in hospitality after graduation. And the most shocking one was 70% of graduates from the Hog Hotel School, so one of the most famous hotel schools in the world, were no longer in hospitality after 6 years after their graduation.
And this is the best hotel school in Holland. I should maybe
Yes.
not say that, but
No, it's true, but it's true. It's true. It's the best one in Holland and one of the best in the world. And this is in hospitality. They are not working in hospitality. This is not even taking consideration people that decided to open their own hospitality tech companies or people that are working in hospitality tech because they're still in the industry. They're not serving, but they're still in the industry because the schools still feed the tech part of the industry, right? So we are doing something wrong in that transition, that hospitality as an employment doesn't seem to be very interesting for people. And this is why we have these high turnover rates and something that we need to find out. So that's probably the biggest challenge we have, is to understand what is behind the high turnover rate and that employee experience that they have that make them think, well, that's enough. I don't want to work here anymore. What do you see as the biggest challenge for hotels that they face by holding such a turnover rate?
I think it's an attitude. You asked me earlier what one of my worst onboarding experiences was. It is at a certain moment in my career, I was told not to care about people too much by people above me. Just hire whoever looks good, train them on the spot, and if they don't work well, then kick them out and get somebody else. This was before COVID. Be 100% against me. Yeah, because you need to work with people on a daily basis all the time. They're not tools. And I have a feeling that there is still quite a lot of this attitude in the business. That okay, we need people to serve breakfast, we need people to wash the dishes, but okay, if they leave, we get somebody else. But the cost of hiring people, they leave again after a while. I think in Europe it's even over 5,000, like an average 5,000 euros cost, which is crazy. And I think that if you want to improve your bottom line, then this is something that people should really scratch behind their ears. But I think it's a cultural thing that is, yeah, it's not easy, Mauricio. I mean, I have lots of thoughts in my head now, but the proof is if you do it differently, you can be best rated in a city like Prague. And of course, when you are best rated, it improves everything. It improves your average rate, it improves your income, it even improves your profit at the end of the
How about manager's time when it comes, because you said that most hotels that you work with, when it comes to boutique independent hotels, they don't have that learning and development a manager or even a HR department at all. So it's all into the manager's lap, right? How does it work when you have such a high turnover rate that's already costly? It's quite frustrating, and managers must be training these new employees every single time. How?
Yeah, of course, instead of coaching, mentoring, you are training, which is okay. But if that's the only thing you do, then at a certain moment, yeah, it is not a waste of time, but you are just training, training, training. Maybe some hotels, they see that as the job of the manager, that they properly train. But I think it can be done differently, Maurizio. It is definitely not the best practice just to yeah. But what happens a lot is that you start as a newly, like a person that just joins a hotel, and you get a badge and it says with big letters trainee, because of course you cannot expect everybody to be stars from day one. There has to be some kind of interaction, and in general guests, they understand. But a big part of that training can be done without having guest contact. And once you then go into the restaurant or the reception or wherever you need to be, the experience can be much faster, much easier done with less involvement of the managers.
Mm. And you mentioned that like the managers, some owners or some operators see the manager's job as being this trainer around, but they also have so many jobs around themselves, like reporting and accounting and even F&B, counting inventory. I don't know. They have so many other things to do. So if they are onboarding a new staff every 4 months, that this is the European average right now, every 4 months, they need to onboard someone that normally takes about 3 months to get them ready for the job, but they have all these other tasks around them. how they manage to actually train people and perform the jobs at the same time.
I think if you're a little bit logical, what you just said, the result is that everything is done like halfway. Yeah, it's not done 100%. And okay, I don't have time today, so just whatever. It is difficult juggling. I mean, being a general manager of a hotel, I in the past very much compared it to being a Superman. Yeah, you need to do everything. Yeah, and you need to do it fast and strong. Managers, general managers, it doesn't make a difference. And of course, the bottom line is the most important. And do some hotels care that they have not very good feedback from the clients? If the profit is still okay-ish, then why to improve it? It is difficult to find that balance, or even to say, if I do improve it, how much will that impact my bottom line? We will go to the future afterwards, but I am very positive that things can be done way better than how it is currently done.
That's the end of part 1 of our podcast. Next week, Nah-Dja and I will jump into onboarding best practices. So tune in every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central European Time, and we'll discover how the stay framework can help your hotel too. I'll see you next week. Bye.